I have an amazing guest with me today, Align with Allison. Coach Allison, thank you so much for being here today.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for hosting me.
Oh my God, of course, girl. Well, you know, there's been some drama recently about
Yes.
being a 10K coach. So I thought, why not bring on an amazing coach that can actually share the value add of dating coaching? So I wanted to talk to you today about that. So because here's the thing, I think that people like don't understand it. They don't get it. Maybe there's a stigma to it. And I wanted to kind of dispel any sort of myths and really get into what it is and what it isn't so that when
Mhm.
people are thinking about this, they can make a very informed decision. But before we get into that, please
Yeah.
introduce yourself to the listeners and talk to them about how you became a dating coach.
Yes, absolutely. So, hello, everyone. My name is Allison, and I'm a certified dating and relationship coach. I've been working with clients for the last 5 years. I primarily work with busy professional women to move them from being frustrated with dating, overwhelmed with dating, underwhelmed with dating, into healthy, happy relationships that lead to marriage. And I got into this work because initially I was a guidance counselor. I was actually working with the youth. Here in Brooklyn, New York, and I realized the root of a lot of these children's problems have nothing to do with school and a lot to do with the home life that they were coming from.
Yeah.
Unstable relationships with their parents themselves being in unstable relationships. And so, if I really wanted to have an impact on the youth, the real work is actually on the back end. The real work is working with parents. The real work is working with people before they become parents so that they can
Yeah.
find appropriate matches and build the families that they desire. So, that's how I got into this work.
I love it. And you're obviously very passionate about it, which we love. Let's talk a little bit about the role of a dating coach because I feel like people like don't know what the hell we do, like
Mhm.
what really happens here. So talk to me a little bit because I think a lot of people think like, oh, we're just giving generic advice, like text him this or what
Mhm.
have you or like be yourself. But or another thing that people say is like put yourself out there, right? So how
Yeah.
do you define dating coaching and what a dating coach actually does, and maybe how it's different than friends and family?
Yeah, absolutely. So, first of all, anyone who decides to hire a coach or is thinking about a coach needs to vet said coach. And that's actually
Yes.
literally what we teach too is vetting. But you need to make sure that the person that you choose to work with to hire actually has the credentials, has the experience, and has the testimonials to prove that their advice works. So, the first difference is going to be you're working with a professional versus you're talking to a friend or loved one who, one, is not an expert in their field, and even if they're in a healthy, happy relationship, we don't know how the hell they got there. We don't know who man they stole. We don't know
Oh
if it
no,
was just
not stole,
luck,
girl.
right? We don't know if it was luck. We don't know what generation, what decade they got into that relationship. We don't know how much you're actually sharing. That's another thing, too. When you're working with a professional, we don't have a dog in the fight. So people
No.
tend to be more forthcoming. Friends and family, you may not be as forthcoming. So their advice just may be off guard. They're not the experts in this field. They're the experts in their field. They're not the experts in our field. And so working with a professional dating coach is going to give you the guidance and support that you need that's specifically tailored to you, your problems, your trauma, your situation, and that's unmatched. And so
Yeah,
that's the difference.
I love that. I love that so much. And let's get into this because I think the majority of my clients are Black women, and I feel like that is the same for you as well. And so I
Yes.
think that there is a specific stigma that comes with dating coaching. I mean, asking for help in general, I think is the hardest thing for Black women to do. But I think that there is a specific stigma to dating coaching and love. And I think it is because I think our mothers and our grandmothers didn't teach us. And so I think that there's this conscious or subconscious belief that I shouldn't be taught this because I was never taught this. I want to get your
Yeah.
thoughts and feelings around this.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point, and it's absolutely true. I primarily work with Black and Brown women too, and because I'm of Caribbean descent, a lot of my clients are Caribbean, right? So you have people from
Mhm.
Africa, from a more traditional people, and many times they tell their girls to focus on their books, focus on their books,
That's right.
focus on their books, and then magically when they're out of college, it's like, "Where's your husband? Like, you didn't even let me have a male friend. You didn't let
Right.
me have a boyfriend.
Couldn't even
I
hold
couldn't
nobody's
have boys."
hand.
Right? And then if you found out that I kissed a boy, it would be the end of the world. Forget about sex. So then how do you expect such a drastic jump? So I think that's an excellent theory. The theory that I've always worked on is that we've been socialized through media and now social media that love is just supposed to fall into your lap. And like Disney and the princesses,
Of
right? Like there's
course.
no effort, there's no strategy, there's no analysis. And so if I've never seen this effort, this strategy, this analysis in my life at all, like not on television through cartoons at all, I've never seen this, then why should there be a strategy for me. Instead, what it should be is it should just happen organically, like it does for everybody else.
Yeah.
I think that's why people are so like there's so much of a taboo or stigma attached to working with a coach because it's not what people are accustomed to. But in reality, they do this work and have been doing this work, I imagine, for thousands of years with matchmakers and families, right? So it's the same industry. It just has a modern twist.
Yeah, definitely. I think that dating coaching is needed more than ever right now, actually. And I would love to hear from you. My thoughts are like, ever since the pandemic, it's getting significantly harder and harder to date. But I would love to hear from you, first and foremost, your thoughts about is it the hardest it's ever been and why you think that is?
Yeah, I absolutely think it's the hardest that it's ever been, for sure. I think it's because of social media, and I'm sure that we've poured more into social media after the pandemic or during the pandemic when we were, so separated. But my theory is that it's this assumption that we have so many more choices than what we have
That's
in
right.
reality.
Hmm.
So, if I'm just from my little old town and there's 100 guys in my town and I went to high school with half of them, then that's my range, that's my access,
That's
right? Like
it.
that's all I have. And so I'm gonna make it work with whoever is around me. But now we have this false sense of choice that we do literally have access to anybody around the world. That's true. But do we want anybody and does anybody want us? And so with people thinking that they have all these options, I think that that's what slows down the process. Also, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. So when you hear all of this incel content, all of this red pill content, all this negative, nasty stuff that we're constantly inundated with online that we would not have been 10 years ago or 20 years ago. Now, again, people are fearful. They're keeping themselves safe, so to speak, and away from potential. And so I think that also causes dating to be a lot more difficult than what it used to be and why people like us are so much more needed than ever before.
100%, 100%. I also think, like, when we think about society changing, culture changing, gender dynamics changing, agency and independence and financial upward mobility for women, that it changes the nature and dynamic of the love game, the dating
Yeah.
game. And so that has also, I think, made it much more complicated. Um, let's talk a little bit about common dating struggles, right? Because I feel like there are common challenges among most of the ladies out there. And I would love to hear from you kind of what a lot of your clients are facing and how kind of you coach them to overcome some of these hurdles.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say one of the biggest issues that my clients face is the vetting process. So again, going back to they've poured into themselves their entire life educationally, they've poured into their career or into their business, and then now, or not even now, but like maybe like 20, late 20s, early 30s, they start to open their eyes to say, it's about that time to get serious. They start dating and they have no clue how to navigate. Then many times they get heartbroken, and then now they put another 3 years, 5 years, 8 years until they try again. And then now you're in your late 30s and there's all the challenges around that. And so just women not being aware of how to navigate dating successfully because they invested so much time, effort, energy into their professional career is probably one of the biggest challenges. One of the biggest challenges. Another challenge that I find is that because they are performing better, for lack of a better term, than a lot of their male counterparts, they're having a hard time with dating. So they're coming across men who are insecure because the women that they're finding are more educated, more formally educated. They are making more money. And so that insecurity comes out with the, okay, big money. Well, you got the money. So,
Big
and all of these
Mama.
kind of,
Yeah,
yeah, these slick comments that are being made because these men don't feel as though they're delivering, as though they're worthy, that they can't bring home the bacon because mama got 5 pigs. Like, what little bacon you got, right?
right.
And so that's another big challenge that I find that my clients have too.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really interesting, right? That and I say this all the time, I'd love to hear what you think, that most Black and brown women are kind of forced into the books. And so they're really using their intellect to navigate the dating and relationship space. But actually, this space is a heart space. And so I think that for most of my clients, and let me know if this is you, intellectually, they're 250 years old, but like emotionally, they might be eight. And that's
Yeah.
the thing that is keeping them stuck in dating. So, what part of my work is helping them to emotionally mature so that their emotional age is matches their physical age.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So as I mentioned to you, I just came back from my women's retreat, and that's literally the work that we do on the retreat. It's like we're not learning which pictures are the best pictures and who's cute
No,
and
girl.
where to go and what color to wear and how you should walk so you can stretch your stuff. Like that's such simple Simon stuff. The real work is internal. The real work is picking and choosing your battles, right? A tone of voice, some of that feminine energy that again they've been deterred from because I'm in a tough spot. I'm in corporate America. I'm an entrepreneur. I can't show up as roses. I need to come aggressively. And I don't know how to turn that off when I walk through the door. I don't
Right.
know how to turn off that hat when I go out socially with friends. And so, absolutely, there's a lot of work around maturity and how to show up as a good girlfriend and a good wife. Like, how do you show up as that person versus constantly looking for someone to measure up to you? Now, the big fear, and what I mentioned when we had our conversation off camera, that big fear of, yeah, you could come across a great guy, but are you going to be desirable to him?
Right.
So it's, yeah, you could
Exactly.
go on Hinge and go on Match and oh the guys are there, yeah, but are you attractive to them? And that's a part of the story that people aren't talking about that negativity that or that hurt or that pain or that trauma that people don't realize that they're projecting sometimes turns off the good guys that they say don't exist. And so working with a coach is going to help them to change that energy and change the way that they approach things. So the good guys that they think don't exist actually notice them, approach them, invite them on dates, and then they can move accordingly.
Yeah, I love that. Um, I think you said something that I think a lot of people don't understand is that 90% of this work is inner work,
Mhm.
right? 10% of it is the external stuff. Like 90% of it is mindset, it's healing, it's that kind of work, which I think people don't understand. I think they think that it's just like, we're going to ask you to text them this and wear this and put on this color lipstick. And that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't drive the needle. Yeah. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, let's talk a little bit about some blind spots because I think that's really the value add of dating coaching. I mean, let me know your opinion, but I'm always the opinion of, you can find a person for yourself, right? Like it might take you 6 years versus 6 months, but
Right.
you'll be able to find it. I think the value add of a dating coach is to be able to highlight your blind spots and make sure that you're not running across them. So talk to me about some blind spots that your clients identify and maybe some surprising patterns that you often see.
Yeah. So, one thing that I've noticed with my clients is that they lead with their professionalism. And so that's just absolutely not sexy. It's not attractive and potentially emasculating, right? So you're going in and you're fixing because from 9 to 5, that's what you do on your job. From 9 to 5, if you're an entrepreneur like us, from 9 to 9, we're fixers. That's what we do. And so now you're going into the dating scene. You're bringing that professionalism into the dating scene, and it's unattractive and it's undesirable. And it's also like I mentioned, emasculating, a little bit rude, like thinking that you have to come in to fix someone, right? It's just it's not desirable. And so that's definitely a blind spot of you're not his mother. It's not your responsibility to fix. When it's appropriate, it's your responsibility to guide, right? He's the head, you're the neck, you guide. But you're not in here to get somebody's credit in order and then get him and his mama back together because they were fighting and then get his business started. That's not your responsibility. And when you do that, what you're doing is when you become that mother figure, who wants to sleep with their mama and then who mama want to sleep with their son? Nobody who's right in the head. So then now we've created a new dynamic that's extremely unattractive. So that's one of the big blind spots. Another thing is not showing up, literally not going outside. So you're not going on dating apps
Right.
because all dating apps are the devil, and then you're not
Apparently,
going out
yes.
socially because you're not finding the time, and you have an expectation that your husband is going to be delivered to you on your porch like an Amazon package underneath your tree on Christmas. You're going to pop them up, y'all going to have matching PJs and everybody's happy. It's unrealistic. They're willing to do the work in their education, they're willing to do the work in their career, they're willing to sacrifice, they're willing to go above and beyond, except for when it comes to dating and relationships, circling back to your original point, which is maybe because they think that they're not supposed to. I don't know, but you and I know that you have to put in the effort. You have to show up for yourself. It may fall into your lap in year 6. Do you want to wait 6 more years?
That's the question. That's the question. I mean, I think it's important to also mention that I think a lot of women are leaning into what has created success for them in other parts of their life.
Hmm.
And the thing about dating is you actually have to do the complete opposite, right? Especially for Black women. Y'all are taught that you have to work twice as hard. I mean, as Black people, we're taught we have to work 2, 4 times as hard, but in this area, you actually have to work half as hard,
Hmm.
right? That like, oh, my intellect, the way that I judge things, because I'm compensated at work that way, I can do that here. Actually, that's going to create disconnection, and you have to lead with your heart and not your head. These are all very important things, but that's why I say this work is more complicated and more multidimensional because part of breaking some of those patterns isn't just us telling you to stop.
Yeah.
It's actually us figuring out how your mama did it, what the
Mm.
model was, right? And so I just think it's important for people to understand that this work is much deeper, but it's not just, we're not just saying, do this, don't do that. It is understanding why you do something, right? How it served you, how it makes you feel, because most of y'all, we don't know how we feel. So part of this work is actually helping you get in touch with your feelings so that you can create a deep connection with someone. But you got to know how you feel and you have to be able to express that with that other person as well.
So,
So
but can I push back a little bit and say
please.
this? I want to say we're both guilty, but you could tell me, Allison, it's just you. A part of the problem, I think, in our industry is that in order to get the attention that we need in order to do the deeper work, we kind of got to create the content that does reel them in on the more shallow things, right? And so the people who don't end up investing in coaching then believe that everything that we teach is shallow and doesn't have much depth because how much could we teach in 60 seconds anyway, even if we wanted to? And then again,
Such a great point.
the nature of the game is that we have to reel you in first. We build that like, know, and trust factor with you. You recognize that we have the answer that you seek, and then we could do the deep work in 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 2 months, 6 months, a year, depending on what the client chooses. And so I will say that maybe I could understand why some folks would think that, all we teach is what kind of dress and shoes to wear and what kind of guide to
Yes,
avoid, right? But
great point.
this is what y'all, the listeners, need in order to turn your ears on. And then you get into the podcast episodes, and then you subscribe to the YouTube, and then you get the depth. So I will say that maybe we've set ourselves up for that a little bit. And
Mm,
unfortunately, official tissue people like us are few and far between in our industry. There are a lot of people who are ruining our industry, Anwar, because they aren't actual coaches. They give advice. It might sound good. They have no clients. They have no testimonials. They have no proof of product. They have no
you're
fruit of their labor,
spilling, you're
right?
spilling.
Nothing. You can click the link and you can schedule a call, and then what of it thereafter? What's the follow up? What's the follow through? What's the next step? And so, unfortunately, we are in a tough spot in our industry because our industry is not regulated enough.
You are spilling, girl. So I want to own that. I think that, you know, we have to, the algorithm is such that you have to get people's attention,
Yeah.
right? And so, some of my content is about how to spot how big the D is,
Mhm.
right? But I don't talk about that in my program. Like the things that people see in my social media content, that's 5% of my program. It
Yeah.
has none of my frameworks, none of my online or offline strategies, how to evaluate BDB, between date behavior, how to evaluate dates, right? How to do the mother wound identification, like none of that stuff, right? So you are 100% right. I don't think that we do ourselves justice just based on that. So I want to own and honor that as well because I think I'm guilty of that. But I also think that
Me
that's
too.
part of, being on social media.
Yes. Yeah, it's the nature of the game. It's the nature of the game for sure. Because then we'd have 16 followers, right? And then we wouldn't be able to build our business and then have the impact that we have. So that is the nature of the game. Really, I'm shading the folks who don't actually do the work and they present like they do. And then once people find out that they're drifters and they really don't, then it's, oh, these gurus. Like you didn't even vet this. Did you click on their highlights? Do they even have a testimony? Like what you didn't do your due diligence
Yeah,
and now the whole industry is a problem?
let's talk about that. Like what sort of if people are interested in a dating coach, like what sort of questions do you think that they should ask to help to vet, right? And I'd like to hear from you, or I can also start. Let me know what you feel most comfortable with, because I think it's important. This is like kind of the same process of dating, right? Of
Yeah.
like working with someone that's going to be working with the intimate parts of yourself, a therapist almost. The same sort of questions we have to ask. So what would you say?
Yeah. So the first thing is actually not even that concrete in all fairness. And I'm going to go with personality match. So I would listen to a coach's live streams, like full, not the 60-second stuff, full length live streams,
Yeah.
podcasts, YouTube videos, whatever they have that's full length. And I'm going to say, do I like this person? Do they seem as though I relate to them? Are they relatable? Would I even want to be this person's friend? Could I sit there and listen to them? Do I trust that they have the answer, that they would tell me the truth? Right. So that would be like a gut feeling kind of thing over time, listening to their um long form
But I
stuff.
like this thing, what you said. Will they tell me the truth? Because there are a lot of people out here that will tell you what you want to hear.
Hmm.
And that's not going to help you. Or you could have just listened to your friends and family,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Please
Right.
continue. Sorry to
So
interrupt.
that's the first step. And then the second step, and I'm actually going to push back on my own third step. The second step would be those testimonials. I want to see proof. I want to see someone's video. I want to see screenshot text messages. I want to see something that says I worked with X coach. And after working with X coach, I got this result. I went on a date for the first time in 2 years. Oh, I met a great guy. Oh, I'm finally dating. I'm finally enjoying dating. And then we can graduate. I'm in a committed relationship. I'm engaged. I'm married. I bought a house. I got kids, all those things. I want to see that this thing works for someone else
Yeah.
before I put my money into it. And then the last thing, even though again I'm going to push it against my own thing,
Girl, you
is
pushing
going to
back
be
against a lot of things, girl.
against my own thing, right? Is going to be a success rate. And I want to know success rate. I'll ask, but let me tell you why that's not everything.
Yeah,
The person who's being coached still has to do the work.
that's
And
right.
so you and I can have all the best information, all the best guidance, all the best supports, all the frameworks, all the next steps. And if that person just chooses to say, you know what, coach, I'm not going to go outside for the next 6 months and we'll see who just lands on my porch, or I'm not going to go on dating apps and I refuse, there's only so much we can do. We can work with the best trainer in the gym, but if every time we leave the gym, we go and grab a Big Mac, we're not going to get the results that we desire. And that's not the trainer's fault. That's the client's fault. So I do ask about success rate, but I only take that
Not
with
put
a grain
as
of
much
salt.
weight on it.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think it's important for the dating coaches to know their rates, though, their relationship rates. I call it
Mhm.
my relationship rate. If they don't know their numbers, that is also, I think, really telling. It means that they're not looking to see how they can improve their business, their coaching, right? If they're saying, well, last year I was at 60% and this year I'm at 70% or what have you, like that tells me something about are you actually tracking your clients and where they're at, which I think is very important. Please ask about that success rate, relationship rate. And to your point about pushing back, our work is not to just get you into any old relationship, right? Y'all can do that tomorrow,
Yes.
right? I think that the real focus is getting into the healthiest, safest, best relationship for you, which requires you to be firing on all cylinders. And I think that's our work more than anything else. There are some places where I know I work with a client for 12 months. I know half of them are still probably going to be single just from location alone. California,
Mm.
Texas, Florida, Atlanta, right? That those locations just from market conditions are going to take a little bit longer, right? And so I think it's important to understand like that part of that too. Do your coaches have those that information that you know that they've seen it all, they've coached it all, they know they can tell you, okay, you're in DC and you're doing this and here are the things that I think we need to work on. And generally, historically, my clients have done, have gotten into a relationship at this month based on what you are. They got to
Yeah.
be able to tell you that. If they can't, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I agree. There's something that I absolutely want to talk about.
Yeah, please.
I know we're short on time, but it's so important. So please forgive me.
No.
A part of the conversation that's been happening on social media is around the rates, that the actual investment.
Yeah.
And I think that there's something that folks who are listening need to understand. You get in where you fit in. So every coach that I've ever seen has multiple entry points.
Yep.
You choose the entry point that you feel the most comfortable with and that matches your needs. If it's the free content and you want to piece things together and kind of figure it out and structure it
Do
on
it,
your own,
girl.
and then good luck, Chuck. But you can do it, and some people will find success with that, right? Especially the
Mhm.
long form stuff. Like if you can piece it together and you have the time and you have the patience and you don't mind one or two more heartbreaks, okay, you could do that, right? And then there's going to be the ebooks, and that's going to give you the $25. And then it's going to be the course that might be 1,000 or 500 or one. Then you're going to go into group, and then you're going to go into VIP, and then there might be extensions on times, right? So I don't want you to think like, oh my goodness, I don't have $10,000 and I would love to work with this coach. There's no way that I could ever get results. It can't happen. No, click the links in our bio. They exist for a reason. And you will see a ladder of where you can get in. And many times what happens, you might get in on that level where you feel most comfortable. You might get a win and you say, you know what? He's the real deal. She's the real deal. Let me take it up a notch. And that's okay too. You can work your way, but don't think that you see a figure and you automatically associate that with that person and say, this can never happen for me because no, click
Yeah.
the link, go on the website, figure out what's the best fit for you where you are right now, get in now, do something now, do the work now, start now, and then as time progresses, you can reassess.
100%. I mean, I have courses at 149. I have a full course for 497. I have a group session or group coaching program that's at 3K. I have a VIP that's at 7K for a whole year. And then I have a Hollywood celebrity that's at the 20K mark, right? This client that actually did this viral TikTok, I've been working with her for multiple years. And so the 10K is split over 2 years. And that's roughly
Mm-hmm.
about $100 a week, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you do the math, which is very doable for a lot of people. But please share your rates if you feel comfortable sharing them so people understand where we're at here, because there's different rates, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have my free long form content that's on YouTube, and I have a podcast as well. The single season that's on YouTube is free, $0, right? Then I have some ebooks, $20 here, a video series there, $20 there. And then I have a course, it's $497. I'll tell you this, and again, people get in where you fit in, and then you can work your way up. I am a huge fan of live coaching. I want to see your face. I want to hold you accountable. I want to read your microaggressions. I want you to push back. I want to push back in real time. So live coaching is the bee's knees to me. I have
Thanks.
group coaching that's 3,500, and then I have my VIP that's the 20K mark, which also includes my international trip, my retreat. So yeah, you get in what's most appropriate for you and what you need. Some people don't need group. Some people just need the information. Grab the ebook and run. It just depends on what you need and how much hand holding you like. I like to be handheld. I want you to tell me everything. I want to save every heartache, every pain. I want to save money because you save me time, you save me money,
That's
right?
right.
I ain't got to pay this whole mortgage by myself. So that
Single
10K
people have
is a
to
joke.
spend $1 million more than people that are married, right? I
Mm,
think it's an important number to talk about because that's not talked about a lot. That like what you think that you're saving, you're already spending in your everyday through
absolutely.
taxes and insurance and all of that. So, all very important things here. Thank you for mentioning this because I think it's an important point that like people are very focused on dollar amount, but they're not actually understanding that this work is not for a man. That's the cherry
Hmm.
at the top. This is for you becoming the woman that's ready for the best relationship of her life. Um, I guess any final advice, if someone is listening and they're on the fence about working with a dating coach, what's one thing that you might want them to know before deciding?
Yeah, absolutely. And it'll be the same thing I said before because it's so important. Vet them. Listen to their long form content. Hop on the live streams. Subscribe to their YouTube. Listen to the podcast. See if you're a good personality match. Check out their testimonials. Do those people look like you or sound like you or come from your background? If this person only works with 30-year-olds and you're 60, they may not be an appropriate match. If you're a mom and they only work with people who aren't parents, they might not be a good match. Look for someone who's like you in their testimonial because if they were able to help them, then the coach will be able to help you. So do your vetting, listen to the long form, see if you're a good personality match, check out the testimonials, and then take the leap of faith. You have nothing to lose.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you so much for being here on the podcast. And thank you for the amazing work that you do, as well as
Thank you.
you did a video about this whole viral thing that I thought was so powerful. So I want to thank you for sharing that as well, because, I think there's a lot of misconception and a lot of stigmas around this. I understand and I feel your passion of this work. I have the same passion. And we love what we do, and that's why I wanted to bring you on this podcast so that we can share our passion for this work and really helping women like level up and learn this skill called dating, which we've
Yeah,
never really been taught before. So thank you so much for being here. I so appreciate it. And
absolutely. It was my pleasure. And it was my pleasure to make that video because I was so annoyed scrolling on TikTok. So annoyed. I'm like, you guys pay for every other kind of help in your life, and this is just so foreign to you.
well,
So
what
I
a
was
lot of people don't
pissed.
understand is like, Indian matchmaker, like these people, there are dating coaches that cost 30, 40, $50,000.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I think it's all relative. And I think a lot
Yep.
of people were just talking about it from maybe there's a bit of money wounds and scarcity mindset and things like that, which, we all have our work to do. But at the end of the day, Our focus is on our clients and making sure that they're happy and that they're getting the results that they need. So, yeah, it's been an interesting week for sure. But, again, I just want to thank you for supporting a fellow coach during
Yeah.
this. And my hope is that, I can also support you in times of need or anytime you need help.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me again.
Of course, anytime. All right, ladies, you heard it here first. Bet your dating coaches. Awesome. I'll see you on the flip side. Bye bye.